tell us things about local body elections. Where are we at?
So it depends where you live, actually, as to where we're at. So we're in the middle of the return process. Everybody who is old enough to vote should have their voting forms by now. And if not, they need to reach out to their local council, check out their website to find out how they can cast a special vote, because everybody should vote. We've got some places like the Bay of Plenty, for example, that their numbers are well up on what we saw last election, which is amazing. We've got some places like Kirikiriroa Hamilton, where it's about the same as last time, maybe a little bit higher, and they had a record low turnout last time. So we want to drive those numbers up. And we've got some places which are falling well behind at the moment as well. They're mostly rural areas, and that might just be because rural delivery times take a while to get back to the office to be counted. So
Gotcha.
the main drive is to make sure people vote and get out there and have their say. It's really hard for anybody on an elected position to go, yeah, I've got a mandate, when they're put in there by 30% of the population, is what it boils down to. And we've got some really shitty people running, who have a really dedicated follower base, and they will definitely go out and vote. But the more people who vote for other people, the less likely those shitty people are to get in. So the aim at the moment is just to drive up voter bases and make sure people feel confident in voting and finding the right candidates, which means doing a bit of research, which I know people don't like because those booklets are terrible that they send out if they've got everybody's information in it. So that's pretty much where we're at, trying to get people to vote.
There are several, I mean, you're one of these people, but there are several people, I always forget the name of the guy in Dunedin, who bring out like quite detailed write-ups of who the candidate, like beyond the booklet. And I guess there's things also to be aware of, if it's pink, it's probably stink. It's an ACT Party candidate, perhaps. And obviously, Voices for Fuckwits, is that what they're called?
Still called that? Yeah, Voices for Fascism, something like that.
Who last election were like, keep it secret. They're out there now as well. Are there any particularly egregious candidates standing at the moment that you kind of go, if we were going to make a poster child for the worst possible candidate, it would be...
There's actually a couple. And again, it depends on where you are. If you were somewhere like Kaipara, up north, it would be Craig Jepson, who's the mayor at the moment. He's not seeking the job again as mayor, but he's seeking another job on council. He is incredibly anti-Māori with everything. He's down the rabbit hole when it comes to conspiracy theories. He is a part of Voices for Freedom as well. He signed a letter to the Prime Minister going, we should never enter a World Health Organization pandemic treaty, because did you see how bad the pandemic was managed last time? A whole bunch of stuff there. If you're in anywhere really that's got a ticket, seems to be really bad at the moment as well. So you've got places like, I think it's Westward, which is out west in Tamaki. That's got a couple of Voices for Freedom members in there, including a regional coordinator. In the Waikato, you've got Better Hamilton and Better Waipa, and they're both organised by a Hamilton councillor called Andrew Bidder. He was the one that made headlines for calling one of the mayors the R word, an ableist slur. So he set up his own ticket, and they include a convicted serial fraud offender, who won't apologize, in his own words, perversely proud of what he did, and Voices for Freedom's loudest locals. And a woman who came up and screamed at me in the street when I was visiting my parents a couple of weeks ago, where I bought that pillow, actually, and then told Andrea Vance and Charlie Mitchell, who wrote that story that came out in the Sunday Star Times, that everything that they're reporting on is my fault, which is absolutely weird. You've got Better Wellington and Independent together down in Porniki. You've got Independent Citizens running in Dunedin, Christchurch. So yeah, like there's, if it's a crowd, is it Better for Waimak? Together for Waimak? That's a really bad one. That's got the guy who ran for New Zealand First, who made headlines for screaming about how they were going to bury Māori. He's running in that group. So
good.
There are some really horrible people out there running.
And the problem is, Whānau, I know you guys probably know this, but there's a difference between knowing it and then actioning it, is the reason that any of these people have a sniff, right, is that not enough people participate. Because even it depends where you're elected. If you got a list your candidates 1 to 6 or whatever it is, if you've got 8, 10, 12 councillors, you don't need very many votes to be number 12 or number 11 or number 10. And the only way to protect your local council to hopefully get the best qualified quality people, even if they're on the other side of the political spectrum from you, is to participate. The way to get the people who still think that we've all been microchipped because we got vaccinated, or that anyone who has a heart murmur, for the next 15 years is going to be because of the vaccine. The way to keep those people out is to participate. And one other question.
I liken it to a teaspoon of salt in water. You know, if you've put a teaspoon of salt into a shot glass, that's going to be really salty. But we know that there's a finite number of these people out there who support these more extreme groups. So if you were to take that teaspoon that's their dedicated group that are going to vote, and you put it into a bucket of water, your saltiness is obviously going to go down. You still got the same amount of salt, but it's overwhelmed by everything else. And by having more voters get out there and have their say, they're less likely to get somebody like that onto their councils. One
more question about this, because of course the documentary that you made, Fabricated Consent, going very well. Everyone should have watched that. But answer this question, and the answer to this question is going to be, how does this person find out? So if you have done it, how do you direct them to your stuff? Because they just want to know, any an Ashburton? So with the work you have done on the areas you have done, how can people then go check out what to look out for in their area?
So this is where it gets kind of confusing, because every area is different, and I'm one person and I haven't been able to clone myself yet. So I haven't been able to cover all the areas. If you go to my website, paultheotherone.com/LG25, local government 25, you'll find a list of all the councils on there, and everywhere that's got a video that I've done so far, there's stuff up there, for example. So what was that council that they just mentioned? Ashburton? Which council does that fall into?
Say again?
Which council was that came up on the comments?
Yeah, Ashburton.
Okay, so in Ashburton, for example, I've got one person on my list here. That is Dolph Van Amersfoort, who stood for the New Nation Party in the 2023 election. He posts anti-vaccine, homophobic and climate change denial content. He's now backing New Zealand First through the New Nation Party on his Facebook page. He's on Telegram. So there's little notes like that I've got that I use to feed in, that I'm hoping to get some graphics done up on. What's really fascinating about a lot of these candidates as well is their ties to New Zealand First. ACT, we know, are running candidates, and they're creepy, and they sit there talking about the war on cars. But New Zealand First has so many ties to these disinformation candidates. There was a big chunk of them that were actually at that New Zealand First annual conference 3 weeks ago, a month ago. Some of them have actually put forward policy points that have gone into be looked at in Parliament, go into the cookie tin in Parliament. So there's a really strong hold of those, which is not a surprise, but a really strong hold of those conspiracy theorist groups that are now latched onto New Zealand First. So New Zealand First is essentially running candidates without telling people that they're running candidates.
paultheotherone.com/LG25. So, for example, just to help me, because I'm a moron, if I wanted to look up Dunedin and I was on your site, tell me what to do.
All right. So if you scroll all the way down to that big panel of pages, a panel of logos, look out for the Dunedin one. It should be alphabetical. So it's the one right on the very end of the first row.
See, I live in Dunedin. I don't even know that, but it does come up across it. So it says, you can see Dunedin City Council.
So we click into that one. So it'll tell you what your voting method is, single transferable. So you tick a box. You don't have a Māori ward referendum there, because Ngāi Tahu has different representation models that they want. So it's not like a racist thing. It's something that iwi themselves have described. You have this video here specifically on the red flag candidates. And you've got one of the biggest ones there with Pam Taylor, who is literally insane.
I did her. I did all the mayoralty candidates last time around. And I offered her a seat, and it turned to custard. And I don't know the correct way in 2025. You're supposed to say someone's mental or mad, but it's my honest held. It's my. I'll just say this perfectly. That's my honest held belief from my experiences with the person, rather than for legal reasons.
That is fair. I mean, her claims that she's made online include things like she's the spiritual leader and queen of the United States of Pamela. So there's some stuff there. And to be fair, this does also need to be updated, because I actually spoke to Cindy Elder specifically. She reached out because she ran for New Conservatives at the last general election, and she reached out and explained why. And we actually sat down and did an interview, which you can find on my YouTube page, because she does a great amount of work around housing initiatives, and she's got a really great plan to put in place for that. She was hoping New Conservatives would give her a bit of a platform to be able to push that. She shows up to the first meeting and they start talking about how abortions are bad and trans people don't exist, and she's just like, nah, I'm out, can't do this. So there's some really fascinating stuff that comes through with those candidates. Cindy is the only one of the candidates, though, who has shown up on any of my videos who has actually turned around and said, yeah, I take responsibility for what I did and what I said and how it might have impacted people. The rest of them tend not to.
This guy here, I don't know if he's running again. Richard Seeger?
Oh, Richard. No, Richard's not running again. Okay. Lee Vandervee is definitely running again, because
Lee Vandervee comes across to me as just more of an act kind of candidate. But Richard Seeger, if you want to, the conversation I had with him was insane. He doesn't believe in like not just COVID. He doesn't believe in viruses. Full stop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's off his website. I don't know if it's still up or anything, but yeah. And there's something I can't even remember what it was. It might have been a trans issue that he was like he didn't want to talk about. And within 30 seconds, he had brought it up. Whatever that issue was, it was just insane. Just insane. Anyway, listen. That's that none of that's relevant, unless it's there's someone running there. Yeah, I guess Jules Radich is running.
Well, you had Lee running.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so maybe. A lot of people ask us if we do that again this time around. I'm just like a bit like you. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can only work so many hundreds of hours a week already.
I don't think I've gone to bed before 2 a.m. for the last 2 weeks, because it's just putting everything together, and I want to make sure if I say something, I can back it up. Yeah. And so, if I say on screen, this is a person who got this wrong, this is why it's wrong, it needs to be there so that the voters can sit there and go, okay, cool, I've got that information, I can use that to make a decision. They don't have to agree with me at all. Yeah. They can sit there and go, okay, I see that information and I agree with their stance, and that's their choice. Ultimately, the goal is to get people to vote and hopefully have people feel a little bit more informed about who it is that they're voting for.
Yeah.